Hey, what's up, everybody? Just wanted to share to you a little bit about ways to make your journaling a little more potent, and kind of induce, or I guess you would say, inject your own your spirit, your magic, your essence, into the words you write, your life energy, right, and thusly giving life to the words that you write therein, right. So as you can see, Pami, big on painting, drawing. Most of my stuff has a very esoteric, nature to it, right? This is because I understand that, along with just generally creating things of beauty or balance, right? Art is meant to inform, right? To form the inscape of the mind, right? And this is one of the abilities, or one of the, I guess you say, frequencies of life energy you give to your writings when you do, in fact, incorporate aspects of art into your journal. So, like, bordering it, or like warding the fronts of it, spines of it, right? I don't know if you saw that good, right? Right. So, doing that, just that little thing, just adding that little touch of your own personal creativity and and essence of your mind and spirit, right, to the pages and the borders of your writings, as well as the book, the front cover, the spine, and the back, right, kind of creates, it gives a life-giving frequency to these words you write. It brings these things to a point where their potentiality is high for occurrence, right? so as to say, it kind of makes you focus on, like, you notice how when you write things, you tend to write your words out a little more clearly. They're more well thought out, because of the fact that you had to focus on them longer in order to write them out on the page, right? So this is a way of adding more of a similar type of focus, right? The creative energy, as opposed to the structurative energy that words are, right? The creative energy illustrates, the imagination, and the imagination is what gives the picture that goes with the words. So it's kind of a way of uniting both aspects of spiritual energy, if you want to say it that way. The feminine and the masculine, you're uniting those on the page, right? So you would decorate it, design it, color it, whatever you want to do, some pictures, collages, words, letters, whatever. And that is essentially creating a magical womb in which to deposit the words, okay? And it kind of, it's a way of supercharging anything you will write in your grimoire, or your journal, or your spell book, or your book of shadows, whatever you want to call it, right? And I do that to all my books. Like anything I write, I always I decorate the borders, I decorate the inside covers, inside of the back cover sometimes. But doing that is because, remember, again, like any word you write, any letter you write is a character that is specifically unique to the way you write, which makes it a sigil. It's a sign of you. You wrote that. It's a sign that you existed at that specific point in time doing that thing, right? Thinking that thought that was associated with that mark you made, right? And your collection of those marks together bring the energy that they had here in the ethereal, right, in the mental, in the higher spiritual realm. They condense that down into the densest, the gross form of matter, to make it physical, right? So it's kind of like saving it, so you can go back and read it, and you can actually bring yourself back to previous states of feeling, being, and thinking a lot easier, having already written it down. And then putting around the border, around the edge of the page, depending on how you illustrate that border, it's going to affect the way that information is perceived, right? Which is going to, in turn, affect the way you emotionally connect with this information, even after you wrote it. It could also just be a sign of the way you intended for the information to be captured. That way it's locked in, which is kind of a more accurate way to do it. So say if I was going to, like on the page that I showed you where I think it was the prayer to the Houthi, right? On the sides, there's one side, there is the tetragrammaton, it's a triangle, right? Illustrating the three divine properties, right? And on the other side, it's also a tetragrammaton, but it depicts the 10 to 11 points of the Agduad, right? The original energies, beings, frequencies, what have you, that made physical possible, right? And this is because Jehudi is called the scribe of the Netter, right? Which means that he is the one who wrote what they call physical laws, right? Wrote these, created these. It's the energy that is these laws, okay? So the sides of that page illustrate this with pillars, which indicate the strength of structure. That's the Jed pillar, okay? The Jehuti, that's what that pillar is called. The Jed pillar, it's named after him. And I put an inkwell and a quill at the bottom. That's the little container of ink with the feather, the pen, right? Or a stylus, it's called too, right? Because those were his tools. You know what I'm saying? Or it would be a tablet and a stylus, like a little clay tablet that he would dip in and write on there. Or it would be like a smaller chisel, because he's inscribed in things too. Again, inscription, inscribe. That's where But doing that, instead of like, it can even set the mood for how you go to write in the journal, right? So if you say you go through the journal, you do a whole bunch of the pages and on your colorful borders or whatever style of border you want, right? That can influence the way you feel the next time you go up in that page and go to write it, right in that space, right? Because you've already assigned an emotional / spiritual mental value to that page by doing that. So while it is good practice to do, I would, like I said earlier, I would advise to do it in the moment. Like, so if you're going to make a journal entry, right? Or if you're going to write down a spell, if you're going to write down an encounter, or you're going to record something you did, a feat you pulled off, or a spell you cast, or what have you, a ritual or a ceremony that you designed, or thinking about going ahead and enacting, right? The first thing you'd probably want to do before you write that down is illustrate those pages around the border. And in times earlier than people illustrated, you know what I mean, when they could only write, because most people couldn't, as well as most people couldn't draw or write, most people couldn't draw either in antiquity. So they would just, the ones that could write and couldn't draw would just write around the border, the intent, the mental and spiritual intent, sometimes in a different language than the main body was even written of, because the intent of that border is to hold and add and charge the inscription within the border itself. It's to give it power, to give it life, right? So to recap, if you write in the border or write on the page and then do the border, you might not even have enough space to put in a proper border, right? To actually assign as much potential, spiritual and emotional and mental potential to that border, to the page, to the words that you want. So, but if you go and do it, if you write in it after you put in the border, around the edge of the page, that could affect the way you feel when you write and what you write. So the best practice is to go ahead and before you start to write for a session, you just go around the border, draw something, illustrate something, or write something uplifting, positive, and charging that's going to help those words, and then write the words. And that will help your journal entries. It'll help you to be in the right state of mind to manifest and control, the things you need to control. See you guys later.